great. Well, this afternoon we have a fabulous guest and someone I really look up to and admire and respect greatly, and that's Ronnie Murchison. Let's all clap for Ronnie while we're muted. You can do that. Awesome. And Ronnie is currently based, I think, in Memphis, Tennessee. Did I get that right, Ronnie?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, awesome. And a great city for making music for sure, and a great history. And Ronnie's a great guy, a real cool dude, relaxed, and loves music. More than that, really loves the Lord, and has become a great exponent of gospel choir music and what I would call worship choirs too. Just bringing us all into the presence of the Lord through music. And he does that in a very intuitive, kind of organic way. And we're going to try and explore how he does that compared to what some of us might do, which is follow the music and the dots and sing kind of very square and very British. Ronnie has a different approach, which I think is awesome. And we're going to explore that a little bit this afternoon. So great to see you, Ronnie. Are you doing okay?
I'm doing well. I'm glad to be here with you. It's a
Great.
blessing.
And Ronnie's set up with his headphones. He's got a really cool microphone, sounding like Barry White. He's got those deep tones. And he's got his keyboard there too, which is really exciting. And we may hear a little bit of Ronnie singing just a little bit later. I did want to say that we've been praying for Ronnie here at THQ. He had a bereavement in his family, lost his sister a week or so ago. So we've been praying for you, Ronnie. And we really appreciate your willingness to come on here and just share a bit of your heart. And this is going to be dead easy. We're going to chat for about an hour, and we'll have some questions from people as we go. And don't be shy with those questions. I know Steph Hall always has a question ready to go, but don't be shy if you want to ask Ronnie something, a burning question that you might have. So let's start by asking Ronnie just to tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe your current job, your family, and maybe a little bit how you grew up and how you met the Army.
I'm currently working in Memphis, doing music and creative arts here, which is a blessing. My family consists of 8 children.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you remember all their names?
I remember everybody's name from the oldest to the youngest. We have Rashay, Rochelle, Siobhan, Elijah, Levi, Rebecca, Ryan, and Rama, who is 6, all the way down from 25 to 6 are the raging ages.
Wow.
And then my lovely wife, who I'm in love with, Marisol, who is a traditional Salvationist. Her family, she's a second generation Salvationist. So of all things, the Lord blessed me to have somebody who knows the game. So I'm grateful for that. Really grateful. And I love them very much. They've been very supportive through this time and transition that we've been going through. So I'm very grateful for them. I've lived in, we were living in New Jersey, in New York City. We went to Dallas for a bit, and then we went down to Corpus Christi. And then now we're here in Memphis, Tennessee, all with the Salvation Army. And it's been a blessing, believe it or not, that the Lord allowed us to experience all those different areas. And we've been around, we've traveled a bunch, different places in different states and different countries even. The Lord has been able to bless us all mostly through the Salvation Army as time went on. I didn't grow up in the Salvation Army. Actually, I came to know and start serving in the Salvation Army in my early 20s, or late teens, early 20s. I came for a job. I just finished. I'd come from Pastor Tony Evans. He's the pastor in Texas. I was singing. I'm leading worship at that church, and I had just come off of a small little tour. I had opportunity to do some touring and singing in gospel bands and music early on. I think some of the names, I don't even care about the people, but just been around with some folks. And so, but after coming back from that church, I remember it. It was an advertisement in the newspaper for a youth pastor, and I said, "Well, I don't know if that's really me, and I'm not really a youth pastor." And this is the time when the BFIs were youth pastors. I think there's something else now too, but so it was in Plainfield, New Jersey. Henry Tebow, I think he's passed on, but he was my first introduction to the Salvation Army years and years ago, late 90s, and then found myself from there on in just serving. Went to my first youth councils, and just all the experiences that I've taken with me. And believe it or not, let me back up a little bit. I went to Camp Tecumseh in New Jersey as a as just a, as not a salvationist, but like, community camp. I was in all this time. I didn't realize that all this time I was connected with Salvation Army, spending time and find myself later on working and fellowshipping and calling it home. Growing up, my major influences were mainly my mom and my pastor. And I know that sounds corny, but it's just the truth. These are the people who were very influential in my life, helped shape me, mold me, give me courage and strength. Parents, I mean, I grew up, rough neighborhood, rough life, all that kind of stuff, but they helped keep me like firmly rooted and grounded in the things of God. Sunday school, I hated going to Sunday school, hated going to Bible study, all that stuff. Then never knowing that later on these would be the foundations that would help carry me and push me through. So they were major influences in my life, even as they got older, just getting their education and going on and on and on. So it was a blessing. In high school, I remember I was not great, but I was a good musician, a good not musician. I'm sorry, a good athlete in high school, captain of the football team, and all
Wow.
that very, very running track, state championship, state champ, all this kind of stuff. But I had the other side of me that was I sang in the choir. From like ninth as a freshman and everything, I was always singing in the choirs, and I believe it or not had scholarships to go to like Westminster's choir college.
Yeah.
I was the assistant director as a junior, and senior to a 200 voice choir at my high school. And it was, when I was in music, I was in it, but in high school, you lose your mind. You're young. You don't know what you're do other stuff. And I should have gone that route, but I didn't. But believe it or not, because I wasn't playing the piano or anything in high school. I was just doing vocal music, which I would encourage anybody. Vocal music is it's rooted and grounded me into anything that I do now. Most of the stuff that I'm doing by ear or by rote is because I can sing it out, and I going back to foundations, But I started playing piano when I started coming to Salvation Army, just a little before then, because the church that I was in currently at that time, they didn't have a musician, and I knew how to play drums, and I was playing drums, and so I said, well, man, let me just try to play the piano, and sat down and just kind of, listening to what people were doing and picking it out. And that first church, boy, I'm just so grateful for them. They dealt with a lot of transition from me, but it helped me to get to where I am today. So I didn't start playing until late teens, early 20s, and I'm only 27 now, so I'm grateful.
Wow. That's awesome, Ronnie. And not many captains of the football team are also singing in the choir,
But I didn't want to let too many people know about that. But,
but I think it's good. I mean, just from my experience, I love sport and I love music. And I think for young people listening, you can do both.
You can do both.
And enjoy them. And actually, I say to young people that maybe are going nuts on the trombone and it's their life, I say, go watch a movie, go find a girlfriend or go do something different so that it doesn't consume you. So I think that's really smart on your part to diversify. And you mentioned learning the piano. You basically taught yourself to play. Would that be true?
I did. I taught myself how to play, and I started reading books and theory books, and it didn't take as well as I wanted it to, but I grabbed enough of it to put together progressions and chords and scales and things that I needed. And as time went on, I could it was a gift from the Lord, really, to just be able to learn how to play anything, whether it was classical, jazz. I could learn it, just by sitting down and spending time. So
it's that easy, isn't it? Playing the piano, it's dead easy.
I don't know. Yeah, it's easy, no problem.
But that's pretty cool to teach yourself to do that, and it is possible. And I'm looking down at the list of people participating here, and Rodney Jean, I bet he can play the piano a little bit, but he's primarily an instrumental musician. But there's something about going to the piano, Ronnie, that I think we probably share. That we could just go sit down. You can make music. You're in control of it all, but it's also a worship experience. Practicing the trombone for me, you can only play one note really at a time, whereas piano is something special about learning that, isn't it?
It is. It's a great way for me to express, especially what we're going through right now. In my household, even for just my wife, my kids, we can just sit around and I don't have to sing anything. I don't have to talk. I can just play something easily and just take my time and just allow God to use me in that. Like just it's words don't even describe. I think
Yeah.
the level of blessing I receive when I'm able to just sit down and bless myself,
Yeah.
just playing and singing and just mostly playing though. It's
That,
really good. It's really
that's
good.
awesome, and you bless a lot of people with your music. And I know in this time of virtual services on a Sunday, I've seen you pop up on my TV screen more than
Hmm.
one week, and I see you, playing the organ or singing or playing the piano, and that's just been beautiful. You've
Yeah.
blessed my heart. You touched on how you met the army, and of course you have moved around a fair bit. Where would you call home, really?
Uh,
Other than where you are right now.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
Memphis, uh, uh, New Jersey, New
Yeah.
York. The East Coast is probably going to be home if I
And
home
and
would be
and
close.
what
That's right.
I mean, I'm a Brit talking in the South to someone from New Jersey, but just explain maybe some of the differences between living in New Jersey and living in the South.
I spent most of my time in New Jersey and New York, probably equally. But first of all, everything is way faster.
Yeah.
Everything is way faster to even keep up. Even like musically, it's just there's little kids that are 8 and 9 that are playing music and doing
Wow.
music, and we have it down here too. But when I come to the South, it's just a little more laid back. Things are a lot slower.
Hmm.
It takes like forever to get things done sometimes.
I know
Holy
what you mean.
mackerel! It takes forever, but I'm grateful because it's taught me to take my time. When I wouldn't take my time before, I just gotta get it done, and just kind of pull it together. But this has given me an opportunity to learn how to do the best of both worlds. When you got to be spontaneous, or when you have time to practice, or when you have time to learn. Because up in the like New York, New Jersey, a lot of stuff had to be spontaneous because the way things were come at us. So, but down in the South, it's just been a lot of take your time moments,
Yeah.
take your time. So,
And I think that's a good thing, Ronnie. I think we're hustle and bustle too much in this day and age, and I think to
yeah.
to stop a little bit and rest occasionally, I think that's a
Well, I
good
think
thing. So
Corona's taking care of that. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah. And we're glad you're in the South.
yeah.
We've loved having you down here, and you're a special kind of guy. Now, tell me about your Christian experience, if you don't mind. I mean, was it something where you gave your heart to Jesus when you were 7, and it's been plain sailing ever since, or what were your teenage years like? Tell us a little bit
No,
about that.
no. I gave my heart to the Lord when I was 8 years old. I remember small storefront church, understanding what salvation was, and I just was so compelled, and I wanted to be saved, and I felt like I needed to be. But I didn't really understand it fully.
Hmm.
And honestly, until I became an adult, because in my teenage years, you're back and forth, and all the transitions. I mean, you don't have like a stable environment around you. It's very hard to find that level of, I guess, stability in that time of where I was at. But just to be able to be saved, to live a saved life, and to have people that are around you that are living that way, that type of community, it was up and down, and you knew all the time. I knew that this is what I need to be doing and living, following the Lord. And I had those influences, but I was young, and the thought was, you're young, you only live once, you get to do this, you get to do that, and a lot of it was foolish and silly and waste of time, to be honest with you, because the salvation of the Lord, it never, God never left me, His presence never left me.
Hmm.
There were times when I'm in music that I'm operating under a gift and not responding to what God had for my life
Hmm.
fully. So, and I just, as a quick aside, would love to encourage any young person, old person, whoever's listening, that the gifts come without repentance. Even though you're able to operate and do things, that's nice, but you want to make sure that you have a foundation that's rooted and grounded in Jesus Christ, so that you'll know that everything that you're doing is something that He's leading you, and not just things that we're doing because we can do it, and a lot of times we do that just because we can. But I just want to make sure that people know that, because that's where I'm at today,
Hmm.
and I've been here for quite some time, living and following, and passing up opportunities and things that look like they're good, but they're for me they weren't of God, or they weren't things that the direction that the Lord wanted me to go in. And I'll tell you, there have been some great opportunities to just be a part of things, and music is music, and I know, but there's things that come more with just the music. if you're not careful, the things that surround certain styles of music, certain, because I'm a firm believer that we can play whatever and learn music and be skillful in that, but you have to be careful in the environments that certain type of music is birthed in or it's germinating in, because if you're not careful, you'll find yourself getting in, engulfed into that environment, and I came for this, but now I'm here and I'm just overwhelmed with all this other stuff, and that's not glorifying to God. And I refuse, if it's just me and the piano, you know what I mean, I refuse, man, to let that go. So
if I can pay you a huge compliment, Ronnie, it seems to me that your music just comes purely out of your faith walk, and I would say your faith comes out of your music. There's no join there. There's no separation. What you see is what you get.
yes,
And
sir.
there's no pretense or
That's it.
ego, or because even as Christian musicians, sometimes we get a little bit distracted by, oh, I'm getting quite good at this. It's only human nature. But as I observe you, it just seems seamless. This is who I am. This is how I worship, and this is my style. And I think that's something you wanna keep going with. I mean, that's just something I really admire about you. Tell us about kind of what really sparked your love of singing. I mean, it's such a biblical principle to sing unto the Lord. You don't need any paraphernalia, any equipment. It's a natural gift. But what kind of got the spark going for you in terms of singing?
I remember in fourth grade singing the theme from Annie. Please don't judge me. Don't judge me. But I'm until till recent. I've been huge on like Broadway shows and plays. And again, don't judge me. But things that people don't know about me. It's always been like a huge part of my life. I mean, all the way back to West Side Story, all those types of things. I used to love that kind of stuff. But you're growing up in the kind of the ghetto fabulous life, or the hood, if you will, and you can't tell people you got to be the football captain. You got to do this. You can't go back and do dramas and plays and stuff. But I was doing it, and I was grateful about. It's just the music spoke to me, and I was hooked. I was really hooked from the very first time. I think I sung Annie, and then we did, gosh, what else did we do? I mean, everything that was popular then, we were doing it. Hello, I was just so many things. I mean, it's just various different musicals, and I think that the school that I went to, it wasn't a specialized school, but they specialize in drama and art. It
Mm,
appears, I guess, and we did mostly. I think most we did most of the things that were like yeah, they were all plays. They were all Broadway stuff. So
mm,
everything was Broadway all the way up through high school. And I didn't know it then, believe it or not. I didn't even know where the music was coming from, anything else, until I got into high school and we learned more, and I got more educated on like where the music was coming from and where it was, and I was like, I don't know, my friends are gonna accept this too good, but I'm for real. But I'm grateful. I thank God that I stayed with it, and those songs spoke to me. I don't know why, but they spoke to me. To hear people put together the different parts, and some of the stuff, the harmonies. I don't know if you guys know Annie, but I
mm.
remember Annie when they did Easy Street.
Easy
That
Street, yeah.
song, oh man, Carol Burnett, Bernadette Peters, and what's the brother's name? Oh gosh, I forget his name. I know his name, but when they did that scene and they were doing Easy Street and coming down the stairs and they broke off into the dissonant harmonies and stuff, I was done. I was so done at that point. I needed to have those harmonies and learn how to do those harmonies and sing like that. And so they were early heroes of mine.
Yeah.
Um, Definitely early heroes.
That's awesome, Ronnie. And you come to meet the Salvation Army, and I want you to be really honest here. I
Hmm.
mean, we're a strange bunch. You've got these uniforms, you've got these strange names of things, DCs and THQs and
Yeah,
cores, and then our music is maybe a little bit different than what you grew up with. I mean, did you think this is a strange bunch of people? And
one
what
hundred
did you think
percent.
about our music when you first met the army?
I did think it was very strange. Um, Especially like the uniform thing. I'm like, bruh, what is it? Where we coming from? I'm like, what in the world is going on with this mess? No,
Yeah.
but I found a lot of similarities because the church I came out of was a prison ministry,
Hmm.
so they did a lot of hands-on with, Thanksgiving and Christmas and going to houses and furniture and delivering, all that kind of stuff. So I knew that part of it. And when I first came to Salvation Army, I didn't even know it was a church, of course. I just thought it was food and clothes and, but then to come inside and see what they were doing. The service part was good, but then when I went to the church part, I was like, "What in the world?" They got home. I had never seen church where the band was literally a band. I'd never seen that before.
Yeah.
Of course, I was impressed because I want to play it. I want to learn it. It was what I was thinking, but it was strange. It was hard to adjust to in the beginning. And I'm like, Lord, is this really what you want me to do? Because I don't do this. I don't do it this way. And for years, I'm telling you, I struggled with that until I went to DHQ, until I got put into a position. And because I used to complain, I'll be really honest, I used to complain about the music and oh man, why is it like this? And we need to be doing this and this and this. And all of this stuff I used to say until I got into a position where I became a music maker. And I really heard the Lord clearly say to me, how can you complain about something that you are a part of, that you now have the ability to help, whether it's adapt, whether it's you doing this or doing that. I've created you who you are, be who you are. And that's not easy for young people and some adults as well to just be who they are, And I from that point on, I just said, Lord, I'm not going to complain anymore. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to be me. I'm going to just, when you call, ask for me to come, this is who you're going to get. This is what you're going to get. So I thank God it's been very successful. It was an adjustment in the beginning because I believe it was an adjustment mostly because I was seeing it through my own flesh of what I like, what I prefer, what I choose. And I find that, in most cases, it's not about glorifying God. It's about, well, I like this, or I like that, or I grew up with this. And I'm just talking about myself. This is what I grew up with. This is what my influences were. That didn't mean that I should be closed off to whatever it was that God was teaching me at the time. Because I didn't learn to come, years later, the albums and the music that we've done have been Salvation Army hymns and songs, but just doing it how I do it. And people from a major culture, I think they're in their 70s or 80s.
Yeah.
And they are older, and I'm talking about from my children, 6 and 7 and 8, and young folks all the way up to 80-year-old people who are responding and responsive to music that God has allowed me to be a part of. I'm like, bro, you really need to let it be. Let God use you and just go that way. So
that's awesome. And there's definitely, thinking about brass banding, I mean, there's definitely a subculture, and of course it goes all the way back to Victorian England. But what I came to learn when I came to the United States was my role that God had given me wasn't necessarily to set up hundreds of brilliant brass bands. It was really to help young people, particularly disciple them, through those difficult years of maybe 15 to 20, when they're kind of searching. And I think about many of our groups, they're perhaps some of the most multi-generational intercultural things we do in the army. When I look at my little core band, and I've got a 12-year-old Korean sitting next to an 82-year-old boy from the South, and then a Jamaican, and then a Canadian, and a Brit. And here we are all together in community, and it's a beautiful thing. But I think from the outside it is incredibly odd, but somehow it works and the Lord uses it. And what I really appreciate is when somebody can offer just something a little bit different that maybe will capture someone else's imagination. And we've seen that through praise and worship music. We've seen it through the creative arts, that a population we never really perhaps reached before, now we're much more inclusive. Tell me a little bit about some of the gospel choir music stars and singers and pastors that maybe influenced you early on. Who do you like to listen to?
First of all, John P. Key is going to be number one.
Yeah.
As a ministry, I appreciate his ministry more than necessarily. Music is great too, but his ministry has always been like evangelical, where he's out in the street. He's got 200 people, and they're all traveling on a bus, to go someplace and sing in the street somewhere, which I love that. I so love that. I believe that that's Salvation Army-esque, if you will. We have that ability to just be out in the street. I'm coming back. Like I said, my early influences were more, I've got thrown right into the open air generation of just being out in the street and ministering to people and loving on them and so on and so forth. So that was, you got him. And then the bigger choirs, Hezekiah Walker, more James Hall, diverse. I love Fred Hammond. Gotta
Mm,
love him. Kirk Franklin is like
yeah.
the goat, of course. Um, he definitely is because he can pull together a bunch of people,
Yeah.
6 people, and make them sound like 25. So
Yeah.
I love his ministry as well. And there's a lot of new people. There are a lot of new people that are out. A lot of new musicians and music bands and groups and that are now happening that are really good too. But I'm just beyond Andre Crouch,
Mm,
if you will, just a little past then.
yeah.
But I'm not too far away from that. But stylings and loving, I think a lot of that provides an opportunity for us to come into community and like you were saying, that's a fellowship that you
Yeah.
can't replace. You can't replace it. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I came at it through Andre Crouch. I think picking it up in the early '80s and then and went on from there. Ron Canoli was popular when I was young. Of
oh
course,
yeah.
I'm talking about a white British guy trying to sing black gospel music, which is a nightmare when you think about it. But Kirk Franklin really got me going. My desire, I'd take that everywhere I could go. Singing it,
Yeah.
and it was just a different expression for this white Brit. But I loved it. Immediately loved it. Listen, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Can you
Sure.
can you play us something and maybe sing us something, just so we get an idea of your flavour? And you were talking to me about a song at the top, "Heaven Came Down," which is kind of
Oh
a
man, I love that.
you do
Yes, I love it. Yeah,
play
I
play
do.
a few bars of that, Ronnie.
Well, I don't know it the original way. I'm sorry. I
Good.
heard it and then I kind of know it and sing it my way, if you will. The up tempo is, I think, heaven came down and glory filled my soul. Heaven came down and glory filled my soul. No, I'm sorry with the words. Let me follow the words I have in front of me. I'm definitely prepared. Here we go. Heaven came down and glory filled my soul. When at the cross my Savior made me whole. My sins were washed away, and my night was turned to day. Oh, heaven came down, and glory filled my soul. I mean, but that's my version of it. That's my version.
I love it. I see Joshua with a big grin. I see Rodney Jean leaning in and
Yeah.
loving it, and that's awesome. And Ronnie, you make it look so easy, and yet it's not. I mean, firstly, I can't sing and play at the same time. I can do one or the other, but not at the same time. And then you have all these lush chords. Explain to us how that happens. Is it just where your fingers slide to, or
It's where the fingers slide
yeah?
to. I've through the time of playing, if I can, like something like my hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust the sweetest frame, but wholly lean on Jesus' name. Right, and that's very basic. But when I express it the way I feel, not only do I sing it, but I try to play like it just, and it's really like I really believe there's the Lord, and giving God my best is just literally. I've made a lot of mistakes earlier when I played, but then I learned how to make those mistakes into notes or into something that makes
Mm.
sense. So, and I mean, I would play it a little different. We did it years ago. My hope is built upon nothing less than Jesus' blood and in righteousness. I cannot trust the sweetest frame, but wholly lean upon Jesus' name. Stand upon the rock, Christ the solid rock. Stand upon the rock, Christ the solid rock. But anyway, I get excited and I try not to. I mean, because I love it. I mean, these are old hymns and songs that I've done years and years ago. But I love singing stuff and making it my own. Every song, I don't care who wrote it or whatever it is, even modern day stuff today, anybody, I make it my own song in the sense of my worship to God or my expression of what I'm feeling at that moment. I really take ownership of it, and I would encourage you to. That's why same thing with choirs and everything else. I take ownership of it. That's why I put so much into it because this is our expression to God, and we want to give God our best. This is ours. It's not just, I mean, I think songs were written for people to sing them, for people to express whatever the author is thinking at the time and what have you. You might find some similarities in that. So, go with it. So that's what I do. I just take it with my playing and my singing and just take my time, whether I go slow or fast, just changing it up. Most of the time helps me to find different expressions within that same expression.
I love it. That's a great example of that traditional hymn, and then that just sounds like a totally different song, but the lyrics are the same,
It's
and
the
it's a
same
different feel. I
song.
see
Yeah.
Rodney
Same
Jean
song.
dancing in his room there, and people just are getting
Yeah.
excited about it, which is, I think, part of the deal, isn't it? When you're dealing with this type of music, you just want people to feel the spirit inside and express
Yeah.
it. And I
Yeah.
think you're doing a great job of that. I noticed from a technical point of view, you're not actually looking down at your fingers much at
I'm
all.
not.
They
I'm
just
not.
go where they want to go, and it's shapes and stuff like that.
Yeah, shapes. Definitely the shapes. Definitely the
Now,
shapes. Whatever
if
it
you
is.
were to walk into my choir, let's say I had 16 people ready to sing here,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe you pick a song, it could be that same one, maybe a different one. How are you going to teach them? You're not going to pass out music with these notes on. So, how would you go about teaching a song to a choir like that?
Most of the time, especially in Salvation Army, everybody can sing, even though they say that they can't sing. Everybody
Are
can
you
sing.
sure about that, Ronnie?
I'm
I've
using
heard
you
some
give
people.
if you give them to me, give me like 3 days with them. I'm telling you, because everybody can pretty much sing,
Yeah.
even if they don't hold the great tune. But mostly, like the great advantage that the Salvation Army affords, and you don't find this in any church. And I've been in a few churches, different denominations. You don't. The Salvation Army teaches music. It teaches theory to like you said, to the smallest, to the eldest, and people know that. That's
Mm.
why you can go into a room and let's just sing grace to the tune of whatever it might be, and everybody finds their note. They know where to go. Boom. Like
Mm.
it's so awesome.
Mm.
So within that room, within a choir, people that are singing in a choir, most of them already know how to sing. I just think that people sometimes are afraid to express the joy that they feel,
Yeah.
and because of the I guess the traditional sense of we're supposed to sing a certain type of way and we're supposed to behave a certain type of way, and decorum and certain things that we should have at a certain level for certain things. Gospel music isn't one of those things necessarily. The decorum on that changes. It's meant for joy. It's meant for there's worship in there. There's a whole bunch of expressions, but the biggest thing is that it's about expressing what God is doing for you in that moment, and
Mm.
then you take that and you embellish on it. Because we have a song that we planned and we wrote it and we sang it a certain way, but what happens is it begins to develop as the people. Like for me, what they're giving me is what I'm going to just give them right back, or we'll embellish like where they're at. We'll take from that place and make that the foundation. Like we've learned the entire song, but now we're going to take it to another place. Just like that song, I was just da 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 da. Then on Christ, all other ground. Sopranos would stand. On Christ the solid rock I stand. Altos. All other ground is sinking sand. Now, because of the form of the song, on Christ the rock I stand. Anyway, just making it up, but for the tenors and bass and everybody, because there's so much happening in there that everybody can find a part. But it's for me, most of it happens spontaneously. And it's like, oh man, because the energy and the life is there and everybody's in it and their joy. And what I've realized, when people are excited about something,
Mm.
they'll give you more. They'll give you their
Yeah.
whole heart. So when people are excited, I love to have that type of environment, because gospel choir for me creates community
Mm.
beyond just singing, beyond what we're doing within our church walls. You can see them at the grocery store, and because of that connection that we were singing, and these are not great singers, these are not the Mahalia Jacksons, if you will, of singing, but these are just people who can kind of sometimes hide in that little corner or here or there, but become a part of something bigger than themselves. Oh man, it's so awesome. It gives you, it's just the greatest sense of community. That's what I've learned from my beginnings to now. That community I don't know, I miss that community.
Yeah.
I miss it. I think it's something that we, in our modern day, I know we got praise and worship and all that, and that's beautiful. But for those who are not premier singers or premier musicians or whatever, they can kind of get into a group of people, and you can get one or two to carry it, but you're just singing along. If you can get those type of people together, man, I'm telling you that I think that is a great way to I guess introduce or reintroduce discipleship to the church,
Yeah.
because people would want to come. Oh, I have to be there because I got to be the choirist. I got to be, just it becomes a responsibility. I can't play a brass instrument. I can't play this, but I can open my mouth and do
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah.
So that I think that's a great instrument. I think that we don't use anymore, as as much as we should, as far as gospel and allowing people to just come in and have fun and the joy of the Lord, expressing that.
That's awesome, Ronnie. And I think when you're teaching some of these songs, repetition is your friend,
Yes.
and then also it becomes a bit of a worship experience, even in rehearsal. Because you're singing a phrase over and embedding it in your mind, but also worshiping, even in rehearsal, which is
Oh
just a
yeah,
beautiful
definitely,
thing. And
definitely.
I would say that we have seen a decline of choirs beyond the Salvation Army,
Yeah,
Church
yeah.
Universal.
Hmm.
And it's strange to me because it's a day and age where we switch on the TV and there's a show about singing, so there's definitely the interest in it. But for some reason, community choirs, uh, are not functioning as well as they once were. But I hope that we'll reverse that, and I think gospel choirs maybe is the way to do that. I mean, just the pure joy of singing together is
Yeah,
something absolutely
yeah.
wonderful.
Exactly.
That's awesome, Ronnie. And uh, uh, the songs that you're teaching, do you write most of them, or do you use other people's material? How does that work?
Whatever the event calls for. If
Yeah.
we need to write something, let's write it, and I'll put it to the people, because I believe that there's music in everybody. Contribute. Like, it might be a little something, but everybody can do it. Or songs that people have written already. I'm finding a lot of good stuff in the hymn book, and I'm not just plugging that because I've done it already.
Yep.
But I find a lot of good music in there. I think some people, and even those that are writing, I see Josh was on there. I'm on you. I know he's a writer. He's a creative
Yeah.
mind, so I'm grateful for him. And I'm encouraging them: write your stuff, write it out, do your thing where you're at, because God will use what you have.
Yeah.
And these songs from the hymns from the songbook, there's a lot of good stuff in there, a lot of good word and good substance. Now today we might not say "thus thou" or whatever, but we can change it so that it's not offensive to the. And I want to please hear this: change it so that it's not offensive to the author and what he or she was trying to create and trying to present, but make it relevant. Which is, I know Salvation Army way anyway, is making it relevant for the people who are responding to it today. We need that. We need that. I believe that a lot of the young adults and young people, and just adults, 20s and 30s, would be, they would flood our ministry if we would just meet them where they're at. Let them be who they are in a sense of creativity, and just kind of funnel it in. What I'd like to do is people like Nick and people that could help me understand it in a different way is yield to that. I don't have a problem. And people say, "Oh, you're so great." No, trust me. I need to learn so much more. I need to help me understand this. I want to do this and sit up under them to learn it this way, so that I can make what I do kind of come into that and help
Yeah.
blossom other things, and encourage other people in different ways.
That's
Definitely.
brilliant, Ronnie. You're doing such a good job. Tell us about a couple of your recording projects that you've done in the last couple of years, if you will.
2015, the Southern Territory, the music department helped me to do an album called Breakthrough. Wrote a lot of songs on there. One of the more popular, actually not one of the most popular song on that album, is called "Singspiration," which I
Yeah.
had no idea
I
would be the
know.
most popular song. I talked to somebody, Nick. I talked to somebody in Sweden. I think it was in Norway or Sweden. And believe it or not, that is the most popular song. They love that song. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't believe it. And that song is a collaboration. It's a collective of songs from the songbook. I'm
Hmm.
telling you. It's just regular
Chosen
hymns,
to be a soldier. That's one of
chosen
them.
to be a soldier. Yeah. Just hymns. That's all that they are. We put them together and just put a little beat to it and just played around it, and people love it. I'm like, wait a minute, but there are other songs on the album too. But they love that song. But we were able to put that together. That song we did in a house in Texas, believe it or not. One of the houses, we made the whole house into a studio, recording studio, and we didn't get professional singers. We used everyone within the Salvation
Mm.
Army. We had singers come in and one room, and altos in another room, and just people that wanted to enjoy themselves and be a part of it, and gave them notes and sang with them and just did it over and over and over again until we got what we wanted. And I think the project came out really, really good.
Mm.
I think after that we did a Spanish album.
Yep.
Oh yeah, Spanish album, Spanish speaking album. For those that don't know, I speak a little Spanish, and We were able to do an entire album, actually double, kind of a live album and a just a regular CD slash. I know we don't do CDs anymore, but a regular album and a live album in Spanish. And again, a lot of the root foundation people who sang on there, they weren't Spanish speaking at all.
Mm.
You know, you couldn't tell, but they weren't, because we spent time with them over and over again with enunciation and pronunciation, and don't say it like this, say it like that, time and time again. And people say to me, "Why do you spend so much time?" And that I believe in investing in people. I really believe that, because when they leave me, you know, I want them to make sure that they know that they have the glory of God, that they know who God is. You know, when I spend time, I see Rodney on there, I spend time with him a little bit. You know, I mean, I told him I want to impart into, I see you, Doc, I want to impart into their lives, so that when they leave, they will know who God is and their abilities and gifts. These young men and women are talented people. You know, we want to make sure that they have the ability to express that and to know how to do that. You know, so on the albums, I try to use Salvationists or people close to the Salvation Army. And every once in a while, I'll go back and grab somebody who I think, well, let's just shake it up a little bit and get somebody outside who can do a little something, a little special or whatever, or write some parts. A friend of mine, Danny Hall, who writes a lot of good brass parts for me. You know, just to make it sound really good and authentic. That the Spanish album I thought was pretty good, and we did a project here in Memphis as well, with just a Memphis style of, you know, guitar. And I had, believe it or not, Salvationist Jimmy Cox was the guitar player on there, and I said, give me some blues, brother. Just, you know, go at it, you know, and let him do it. And we got the kids singing, and so I'm really grateful. We're in the process of trying to redo some of those things now, and just to make it sound good. And Josh, I see you on there. He's helping me out with some vocal arrangements.
Great.
I went to, and I asked him, I said, I know you've done some stuff. And I said, hey, man, what do you think? And he said, yeah. And he talks, yeah, I'd love to. You got the deep voice, you know, I'd love to. So I appreciate his gift. And I told him I want to use him right away. Him and Zion both. I said, I want to use you guys. I want whatever it is that God has, and I want whatever's accessible. I want to use that, because we have what we need right within our own ranks of the Salvation Army. And I'm a servant. That's all I know. And serving here, I want to make sure that the people that are worshiping here know that they don't have to go outside to find what they're looking for. It's within the confines of our own within our own church, within our own ministry. Now, how much opportunity we get to do that is something else. But as long as I have any say so in a little area, I'm just behind the piano. But I appreciate those that are willing to make that opportunity. So making these albums was a great opportunity to get that, you know, a chance for them to express themselves and play and do what they do well. And I want to help embellish that.
And you've done some work with Transmission on a couple of charts recently, and there's a fabulous organ lady, I guess from Norway or Sweden.
Oh, yes.
And oh my goodness, it's amazing. Now, not everyone is sat under your leadership in worship, Ronnie, but I'm going to try and explain it. You're sitting at the piano, you're not looking at your fingers, which is amazing, and you're kind of calling out the next phrase, and it's a very organic process, how you're leading worship. It's not, we're going to sing the first verse, then the chorus. You're very much led by the Spirit, and you kind of, a little bit of call and response, which is helpful when you're learning a song, and you just shout out, sometimes in Spanish, sometimes in English, and I love the fact that there's so much freedom in that type of worship. Just talk us through that experience and what you've learned works, or maybe what you've learned doesn't work.
I'm grateful. I kind of stumbled into doing this because it's kind of what I've always known to do. My heart has always been for people in the audience to sing with me and not for me. And this is not coming from a spiritual standpoint. It's just that I just thought, well, I don't want you to just sit here and not sing. I want you to be a part of it. And this is when I was younger, like 20 or something, like 4 or 5 years ago. And I was just thinking about, you know, I want people to be involved. I want them to be involved. And then, like you said, organically, spiritually, as I began to mature and grow, it just became like, because praising, I think they weren't doing praise and worship. What we were doing, I think I came at the beginning of that, but praise and worship. And then it became something that developed into, you know, like a call and response or what have you. But even from piano, it's just like, I guess I'm naive still in my age of 25. I become naive because for some reason I think that everybody wants to sing. I think that everybody wants to sing, everybody wants to be a part of what we're doing, everybody wants. So I take that when I go into leading worship, my mind is that we're collectively worshiping together, and this is what you want to do. So I have to make it easier for you to do that. I want to make it easier for you to do it. I want to take away every excuse, because at this moment, we want to make sure that God is glorified in what we do and He's pleased in it. So when I approach it, I definitely rehearse with the band, like with Transmission. Even when I was playing with them, like, I don't play with Transmission all the time, but when I did play with them, like, we would rehearse before we play together and everything else. And there's certain signals and codes and things you can give to them. So I don't have to turn around and say, hey guys, oh, wait a minute, we're going to switch the song. Are we going to do this? Are we going to do something like that? And switch it over. No. In rehearsal, a lot of times we get those things together, and then we find ourselves like a song, Transmission, Shadows and a B, right? Shadows and as a low. But anyway, knowing the form of the song and knowing how the song goes, most times I'm going to find myself just repeating something over. I don't have to do that song. I'll do one of my own songs. We Bow Down. Which is, sometimes it seem like it's complex. So that's why you're hearing "You Are Lord of Creation," which is Twilight Paris, by the way, from the '80s. For those who don't know,
Yeah.
of my age, but redoing it, and I just wanted to do that. We bow down and we worship you, Lord. We bow down, which honestly comes out of like a 6/8 type of feel. But if you make it gospel choir, it's like this: 1, 2, and they clap like this. This is how they doing it. And they, this is what they do in the gospel choir. So it's the same stuff, but it's just the expression. It's just, that's good old, when good old gospel choir, when they had like a wooden floor and they didn't have much, and they would just boom, boom, and that's the whole premise of that song. Where that song was birthed out of was just singing another song. And I just said, man, I love this Twilight Paris song. Don't judge me. But I love this song in its original state. But how can we make this a little more exciting for people, that they're going to want to sing it and love it? And most people thought I wrote that song. I said, no, I didn't write it. Listen to the original song. And they said, wait, dog. This is not the same song. Well, it is. It's the same song. And I love the song. This is back in the day, But, yeah, I think it's a good thing to birth that gospel and mix that contemporary, and I think I do it okay, but mixing it so that people can express how they feel, man, in that moment. So yes, sir.
That's awesome. I'm going to ask you a tough question that's
Sure.
maybe not on the sheet that I gave you, Ronnie. 2020, what a year. Here we are in the COVID crisis, and it looks like it's probably going to stretch through the end of the year, waiting for a vaccine. Because you lost your sister just recently, and then this social upheaval of this year. We've seen people murdered, and just things that have really broken our hearts in our own country. And here I am. I'm American, but a white Brit, really struggling to grasp and understand what it's like to be an African American in 2020. And if you will, just talk us through your kind of experience and your processing of what's happened this year.
Um, I don't want to simplify it, but to me, it's just pretty much been what life has been like. Pretty much, you go back to Rodney King, you go back to before then, and it's been. I'm grateful for the social media age, because now everything is instantaneous, and you got somebody got killed over here, somebody got killed over here. It's like, wait a minute, and people are like paying attention, like, but this has been happening, man, since I've been living. Just about, it would appear to be, and it's sad, but honestly, it's almost. I hate to say normal, but it's almost something that's normal. It shouldn't be, but it's something that's normal. And not just the killings. Just the whole thing, just the black and the white and all of the stuff that's just convoluted. Just most of just what we would consider worship today. It's just been crazy. And even with COVID and sicknesses, and I remember I think being a baby, 2 or 3, and I kind of remember in the 70s when they had like a gas problem or something, and
Yeah.
you could only had to go even in odd days or
Yeah.
something like that. My mom was telling me about. But it's we've always had struggle here in America. It's just that now it's just like I think that the people who have been oppressed, if you will, like we're just like, well, what are we gonna do? Like we're talking about it, and everybody's got good meetings, and we're all pointing, and this is a good idea. Let's get together. But I'm at the point like, what are we gonna do? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because we need to do something, you know, and those that have the power or authority in whatever area, we need to do something and not talk about it. We've met, you know, and civil rights. I mean, this is stuff that's happened. And it's the same conversation over and over again. It's just that now, what are we actually going to do for those who are there? And it's not. I know it's a black and white issue, and it's nothing to run away from. We should deal with that. You know, you have white and you have black. It's very, very regular. But what are we going to do about it? We have people that love each other, you know, black and white. What are we going to do about it? People that make opportunities, you know, you know, what are we going to do about it? Like this year is an opportunity for me. You know, you guys asking me, and we talking about it. This is an opportunity. You know, that's why when I was talking to Bernie earlier, I was just like, to me, it's a privilege to just be like, for somebody to even ask me, what do you think about it? Like, oh, I'm nobody. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I'm just a regular guy playing the piano sometimes, you know, but the truth of the matter is just even in our worship sets, you know, you look at Christian music or CCM, it's what drives the Christian church, if you will. But gospel is looked at, you know, as something else. This is when they used to have. Some of you young folks don't know this, but they used to have things called records and CDs. You go to a store and buy them, and in the store they would have the CCM section or the Christian section, and then it would have the gospel section. You know, and that was really divided between white and black.
Yeah.
So this has been around for so long, and in order to be popular or to be, I guess, for people to receive what you do, you have to do what CCM or what Christian music says do. Because if you do gospel music, it's a smaller market, and you know it's in the business aspect of it. I've been in it for a very short time, but you have to do what, if you want to be popular, you have to do what they say do or do. And I think it's all a hoax, man. I just believe it's a trick of the enemy. At the deepest recessions of our relationship with God, it's a trick of the enemy because, you know, God is glorified in a joyful noise. You know what I mean? He's glorified in that. That's beautiful, you know. But I think we've taken it and switched it and done other things, and we've allowed the enemy to come in and make the divide. There is a divide between traditional and contemporary, and black and white, and old and new. You know, I mean, and I don't want to, you know, go on too long, but something that bothers me, I talked to Josh about Josh Powell about, is that we have songs that are in Christian music that we do this week, and then 2 weeks later they're inundated. They're old songs now. We can't use them anymore because we've played them so much. And I'm like, these are some good songs, you know, but because we have to go faster, it's like always something happen. We got to keep up what's going on. I don't know, man. I just, you know, maybe I'm old and that's what's happening to me now, I guess. But I don't know. You see me going back to hymns and things that I really believe that are things that are going to fill people, things that people can be, you know, that can fill your soul, that can bless your heart, that can help you make it through the tough times. You know, I'm going through some struggles right now in my life, and the things that are helping me to get through are the foundational pieces, not the fly by night stuff, you know, not the stuff that comes and goes and it sounds good, but stuff that is foundational, that if I need to fall on my knees or cry out to the Lord, I can just sing, I love you, Lord, and I lift my voice to worship you. I know that's, you know, old stuff, but that's just stuff and just my expression. That's where it's at. Period.
Now,
That's it.
do you think the Salvation Army can do more, Ronnie?
I was trying to run away from some of these questions, you know, but but I definitely, you know, I mean, you know me, so I'm gonna just be honest. I definitely believe that we can do more. I believe that we should be the front runners in what's innovative, and not just for the sake of innovating, but because we have it, like I said, within the confines of our own ministry, we got everything we need. You've got leaders and people that can do production and all types of things. Not just because I'm not talking about having the ability. I'm talking about like the creative nature inside of them, because of what the Salvation Army has helped them to do, helped them to get to a certain place, and now they start to blossom, and then we shut it down. That's wrong. We shouldn't be doing that. We should be like employing these people. And I'm not talking about via work. I'm just talking about we should be like all of the new songs. That's why I told you I wanted to learn to write and compose music, because I don't know if I can do that, but No, and I think I can do it. But learning how to compose and write all the orchestral parts, because I hear all these different parts in my head. It drives me crazy sometimes. It really drives me crazy. But being able to do it and write music that I know that young people and older people would appreciate. Like I said, like when I did Singspiration, people didn't just appreciate it; they started loving it.
Yeah.
And it's Singspiration. It's the same words, same kind of feel. But I saw Major Tulcher bouncing a little head back there, and I said, "Lord, thank you," because we're not doing. I don't believe that we're doing enough. I do think that we are. We have taken a back seat to allowing the creative nature of our young people, of people who not even young, but just people in general who have the ability to make it happen. They need to be put into positions to make these things happen, and we shouldn't be afraid of them. We shouldn't run away from them. I think with the right leadership, let's take yourself. If me sitting under you musically, you have the ability to teach me stuff that I don't know as far as writing and how to, create all the different orchestral pieces. And I can tell you, oh, Nick, I hear this, like, just pray for me like that. Whatever it is. Whatever it might be. But you can help me learn that and put that into a place like where the French horns go, where this go, like all of this kind of stuff. Now I know they have computer software to do all that and stuff now, but for me, I guess I'm so amazed again. I prefer to have somebody sitting there teaching me
Yeah.
how to arrange these things, how to put it together, because I really believe once I get it, and let me tell you, once I get something, I will run it in the ground, brother. Once I get it. But I believe that this is all within our church, that there are people here that maybe even be discouraged because they don't think there's an opportunity or a chance for them to even move in that direction. I've talked to some people, I won't say any names, that were members of our church that grew up here that have left because they weren't able to, and I'm not just saying expressing me crazy. I ain't talking about none of that. I'm just saying musically or just word or whatever they might think. But I'm just being able to feel stymied, if you will, when it comes to, well, can we move in this direction? Why can't we have a jazz band or learn how to do a jazz band and that be what we do? What's wrong with that? Are we glorifying God? What are we doing? You know what I'm saying? Does it have to be one way? Does it have to be one way? And my stuff, I try not to make it gospel-y, though it comes out and sounds that way. It's just who I am. Y'all pray for me. But whether it's Christian music, whatever, because I can sing it all. I can do that. But the truth of the matter is, my expression of worship comes from my relationship with God. My obedience, and my obedience to him and through all the things that I've been through. But I think the Salvation Army has an opportunity to use me, someone like you, someone else from some other different genre and everything, and put that together. And we have the ability musically to connect all those dots. No other church in the world, I'm not just saying it as an area of pride, I don't get on all that, but no other ministry. You look at all these churches, mega ministries, and even those with orchestras and everything else, they're doing contemporary, regular, old stuff. We have the abilities to just break the guidelines and the barriers of things that people do. But I don't know. I just think that we're afraid, or we don't know how to, or we're afraid to ask for help in those areas. I don't know. But I definitely know that we can do more. We should be doing more. And even with this whole black and white thing, I believe that we could be forerunners. And I believe through the power of music, and I believe in this, that we, I think in '85 they did We Are the World, right? I think it was '80. They did We Are the World, USA for Africa. You saw musicians and people from all types of walks of life and everything else do that. When they did one for Haiti, we need to do a We Are the World for America, and it needs to be, with different expressions and all types of things. Because you're looking at, they had Santana playing the guitar, they had all kinds of stuff. Why wouldn't we be the same people? In our church we're an army. Let's be an army on the march and move into a position to where we are actively being what God has anointed our hands to be. Forgive me, I get excited.
We got Ronnie fired up here. That's I love it. And the truth of the matter, Ronnie, is it's people who look like me that have to do some learning here, and learn from you guys. And I personally learned from Rodney Jean and from Steph and Joshua and countless other people. We still have to keep asking the questions, and I just happen to think, because I love it, that Gospel Choir could be a place where it really brings us together and unites us. Well, listen, our time is about up here, Ronnie. You've been fabulous and fascinating to listen to, and Maybe you could just play us a quick tune before we go. But you got something for us? You got a couple of bars for us?
Yeah.
What's on your heart?
I'm in the process of finishing CCM. What is it? What is it? Are you hurting and broken within?
Ooh.
Overwhelmed by the weight of your sin? Jesus is calling. Have you come to the end of yourself? Do you thirst for a drink from the well? BGVs, Jesus is calling. Chorus real easy goes, oh, come to the altar. The Father's arms are open wide. Forgiveness was bought with the precious blood of Jesus Christ. I could go on and on and on. I love
it's beautiful.
But yeah, I'm just redoing it a little bit. But
I love it. Those juicy chords, and for me, who is a lover of harmony, that richness brings me into the presence of the Lord, you know, in a way I can't really describe from a technical point of view, but it absolutely does. So, Ronnie, you're the man, and we love you, and your music is fantastic. More than every other gift you have, I love that you follow Jesus with all your heart, and that just comes out of your music and your voice, and we're so fortunate to have you in the South. We love you, and we are still praying for you, because I know this is a tough time for you and your family. So let's give it up for Ronnie with our muted screens, and really appreciate you, brother, and thanks for sharing your heart this afternoon.